See a lot of YouTube videos that are educational, but we know that there is a more effective way to do it.
I know.
You know?
This is what has led me to have this existential crisis here about this channel. Hey everyone, I'm Mattu, and this is
Josue Cardona.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I wanted you back here on the podcast. This is not a podcast. I wanted to talk to you also about, are we teaching anyone anything?
I like to frame it more like, are they learning anything?
Right? The two hopefully go together, but not always.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that some people do online that I see a lot is, oh, this movie teaches you this, or this TV show or that book teaches you something. I disagree with that. Many times, it's not the intention of the creator to teach anything.
No.
And you can learn a lot of things from content that was not intended.
A good example of what you just mentioned are gender and sexuality and expectations about relationships. People learn a lot from media about how to interact with each other, and a lot of that is not intended to teach people anything.
Reality TV shows, for example, are the most raw versions of that. They're not acted out.
I would argue that porn is the most raw version of that.
Where would we be without porn? Yeah, exactly.
That's an upcoming episode.
But going back to reality TV, people love it because it seems real. And in many ways, the reactions, the emotions are real. You start picking up things and you start learning. Reality TV shows aren't making those shows so that other people will act the way that their stars do.
This is where I think we have to talk about how we actually form memories. We've all been in situations where we sat in a lecture or looked at a book and we thought we might learn the material. It would just sort of enter our head and we'd learn it, but that doesn't necessarily happen.
No.
When we're trying to learn new information, it's an active process. If you're in a class, you might hear something in a lecture, but then when you recall it again, you're recreating that memory, and each time you do, you strengthen it. You have to read the book, think about it, write it down yourself, make your own examples, you have to elaborate on it, and each time you're strengthening the memory.
I see a lot of YouTube videos that are educational, but we know that there is a more effective way to do it.
I know.
You know?
This is what has led me to have this existential crisis here about this channel. When I'm actually in a classroom, so much of my teaching is not about lecturing at you. Lecturing is actually not that effective. What's more effective is helping you to make the information your own. But then there's like how to be a successful YouTuber or podcaster. Which is very different.
The ideal thing would be that we would run through what we're going to talk about at the beginning of the episode and then actually do it.
There's actually a lot of research about how important testing and quizzing and getting feedback is to the learning process. So if I start a video and I have a little quiz that engages some of the big myths about a concept I'm about to teach, and then I teach it and then I quiz you again, you're going to remember more. But like, who wants to watch a YouTube video that starts with a quiz? I really worry that a lot of these videos are lecture-y. Maybe they're fun, but they might just be edutainment and not educational.
It's not a bad word. You don't have to say it like that.
I feel bad saying it. But I've also received feedback from YouTubers who have huge channels and have been doing this much larger than, or much longer than I have. And they say, it's okay. Edutainment is what you're going for. Because your job is not to teach. This isn't curriculum. This is making information fun and easy to understand so that people who really care about it, they can go on and learn more.
If the idea is that someone is coming to you for entertainment, then what does the educational value matter? And if someone is coming to you for learning, why not use all of those things that we know will help people learn it? The real goal is education. Now, you can tell me if you...
Oh, this is the real goal. I want it to be educational.
No.
I want it to also be fun.
Yeah.
I want to be part of the larger conversation that's happening on YouTube.
Did you remember remember I once asked you, how would you feel if I created some sort of interactive material that was supplemental to your videos?
Yeah.
Right? That was me thinking with my teacher hat on.
Yeah.
Can we test the knowledge? Can we actually provide something separate from the video to also reinforce the learning?
Do you remember what I said?
I don't.
That sounds like a lot of work. I struggle so much to try and get one video out a week.
Yeah.
And this is all during off hours. And the idea of doing that, of also creating this curriculum base that will extend upon every idea here, was overwhelming. Ultimately, it comes down to the person recreating that memory in their head many times. But we can help them to do that. I don't think I am.
For me, the idea of a one-person lecture at the camera isn't the be-all, end-all of learning something. And I think it's really important to identify what part we want to play.
One of my other favorite videos that I've made that a lot of people have said have really helped them to learn something is a video I made about exposure therapy. Showing people how you actually do an exposure therapy session with myself doing it on my own exposure to my fear of bees. And that is something you can write about, you can talk about, but you have to see how it actually happens. Yeah. That's a video that shows you how to do something, which is so much of YouTube. How to tie a bow tie, how to tie your shoelaces, how to fix a router.
Your format and my format are very different in that most of the content that I produce is like this. It's a conversation. So that if I say something, you can say it in a different way, and that helps the listener see things from a different perspective. We can go into it in a little more depth, right? Like, I'm assuming that this video will be longer than your usual videos where it's just you. For me, I like the idea of discussion and having critical thinking, seeing the critical thinking happening. We can tell someone like, oh, well, maybe this, maybe that, looking at it in different perspectives. It's very different than the, like you mentioned before, the lecture. Is that any better at teaching people? Are they actually learning? I don't know. It's important to bring up what a learning style is, because people talk about that a lot. What I'm talking about now is lecture versus maybe discourse or discussion.
They're different learning experiences.
Yeah, because the idea of learning styles, not true.
Bullshit.
It's bullshit.
I learn really well by seeing stuff. Well, yeah, so does everyone.
But if I test you, that's not necessarily going to show.
No, it doesn't show up in any research. You also need to check out the Learning Scientists, their blog, which is all about how learning styles don't exist and other strategies that can help you learn. It really annoys me how hard it is to discover psychology. Biology, chemistry, a lot of the fundamentals of these older sciences you get exposed to in elementary school, but many people don't have the opportunity to study psychology until college. Maybe if you're lucky, you have an AP psychology class in high school. Part of my goal here was to make psychology fun and easy and make it accessible to people. So that's kind of what I tell myself, because I always put more resources below to learn more about a topic that goes far more in depth, because the other thing I'm not doing is I'm not going in depth into anything.
That's one of my friendly critiques, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes of your videos where I'm like, well, that's one part of a larger whole. Your goal isn't to make the great courses or like these really 10-hour audiobooks, right?
However, if Great Courses wants to hire me, hey.
But you only do short 5-minute videos.
I can make them bigger.
Like this one.
Like this one. Like anytime you're on the show.
Yeah. Sorry. I always like to have a conversation about a topic. On most of my content, I have a female counterpart. I think there are biases that I'm not aware of, right? And that are important to have as part of the discussion. But that is a longer discussion. If you only have 5 minutes, if you can open a door to more understanding where you can present a few ideas and then someone can either find another video or Google it and find way more information about it, is that enough for you? Are you satisfied with that?
I'm not satisfied. This channel is a very narrow vision of what I want. My dream has been to have a channel where there's a new video Monday that's about a topic that a lot of people are talking about. On Wednesday, I bring in someone else and we do a live video discussion that's a longer format. And on Friday, we take viewer feedback. It's a much longer and much more in-depth discussion into like one topic. I would love to do that. The problem with that is making a video like this takes hours and hours and hours. This would be a lot easier if this was my full-time job, but it's not.
So are we teaching anyone anything? Are they learning? Have we answered that question?
I don't think we can answer that question. I think you all can answer that question. Have you learned anything from the PSYCH Show? I want to know your honest answer to that. Josue, thank you for coming back. Where can people find you on the internet?
Geektherapy.com or Geek Therapy on Twitter, Facebook, here on YouTube, and everywhere else.